Okay, so repeat your question for me.
Like the hoga idaro.
Yeah,
And that's kind of like the same thing as like hoga ii desu yo.
yeah. It's just, daro is the short form of the show.
Alright, cool.
So, so it's like saying it would probably be better if you did such and such, right? So, yeah, so, 織姫はもう大人だ。結婚した方がいいだろう。So that's like saying 織姫 is already grown up, so she probably ought to get married already.
And then saying like kami-sama wa omorimashita, like he thought like to himself,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, yeah. ある日、one day, 神様は思いました。He thought, and then those brackets are the quotes. So it's showing you what he was thinking, right? Make sense? ね。他に質問がありますか？
And other than that, and like having to check the supplementals, like all that fun stuff.
Right.
Wasn't too bad.
Okay. 質問やってみましょうか。
I haven't read through it yet.
Oh, yeah. So we can't really discuss the questions if we haven't read
I
the
can
story.
listen.
南波さんは
Their names weren't in kanji, they just did it to make it easier.
What do you mean?
Like orihime.
What do you mean? Well, I mean, those are the traditional names.
Oh, so
But you're asking me why they weren't in kanji?
yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe just to make it easier to read because yeah, the kanji for those are not kanji that we've covered yet.
Do those mean anything in particular? Because
Hime means princess. You guys may have heard of the anime Mononoke Hime. Mononoke Hime is a famous anime, so
She's like-
that's Hime, means princess. And then, let's see. Well, the boshi part, I believe, is hoshi, star. The hikoboshi is like something or other star. And without the kanji, it's hard for me to actually remember what the hiko part meant. But I believe it's like cowherd or something like that, because this is the story of, basically the Sky Princess and the Cowherd is like one of the translations of this folktale.
so even when it says like Ushio Scate, I think right there. So he's like using a cow.
Yeah. Yeah. 飛行士はウイシを使って畑で働いてました。Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting the way they sort of anthropomorphize stars here,
Yeah.
right? I mean, does a star really need to farm his land and use his cows? But that's kind of the way they're putting the story together, right?
Yeah.
So, well, it seems like you guys are all on different pages as far as who's finished what, so what do you guys wanna work on?
I think I'm good for the most part, so any review is always good.
Okay.
So
Would you guys rather work on like reading aloud or conversational stuff, reviewing how to read and write some of these kanji that might be difficult? What do you guys wanna
I'm
work on?
also indifferent.
I think maybe OPI content. If we can
OPI,
think of like.
let's do that. That's a
beyond-
great idea.
Yeah,
What's
Maybe
OPI?
just like, if there's not like a particular thing, like an exercise, maybe just like touch on each
okay, yeah.
grammar structure, just to make sure.
Okay, that
ジョーさん
sounds
は
good.
頭がいい。
はい。いいアイデアですね。Okay, so, not having the OPI in front of me, I don't actually recall exactly what's on it, but I do believe one of them is probably the doctor's office role play, and one of them is probably the schedule role play.
This?
Yeah, well, no, the one in the matome renshuu. So, anyone have a preference?
Nope.
Which one to start with?
Drop it straightforward.
The schedule one kind of has the most structure to it, so maybe start with that one and then go from there into the ones that are a little bit more freeform, make you get more creative. So who wants to be A, who wants to be B for the first round?
I'll take it.
Okay.
So we start with the example or just go from there?
You can start with the example, nothing wrong with that.
I'll be B.
来週の月曜日に一緒にテニスをしませんか？
来週の月曜日はちょっと都合が悪いです。です。
悪いんです。
英語を教えなきゃいけないんです。日曜日どうですか？
日曜日は
日曜日はどうですか？
Keep it going.
So, 来週の日曜日はちょっと都合が悪いんです。買い物をしなきゃいけないです。I forgot my days.
水曜日
水曜日
Wednesday? Because I'm not available Monday from the
Oh.
example.
I got 2 days mixed up. So, 水曜日はどうですか？
来週の水曜日はちょっと都合悪いです。
都合が悪い。
都合が悪いんです。部屋 Oh, I guess I can use Tari for this, huh? So,
はい。
部屋を掃除したり、洗濯するをしたり、
洗濯したり
洗濯したり、would be なきゃい
しなきゃ。
しなきゃいけないんです。
はい。
So,
掃除したり、洗濯しな
木曜日はどうですか、ジョーさん。
いいですね。
はーい。土曜日だ。
はい。
Er,
土曜日に、
木曜日。
あ、木曜日ですね。木曜日にしましょう。
木曜日にしましょう。
はい。
はい。Have we done にする yet? That's like to choose that date, to
No.
decide on that,
We
okay.
have not.
Yeah, that's one of those that's so useful and so simple based on what you already know. I don't know why they haven't taught it yet.
What's it? What was it?
Just ni shimasu. So like
Nishi-
date
oh,
ni
nishimasu.
shimasu is like,
Okay.
let's do that then. So mokuyobi ni shimashou.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's like,
Nishimasu.
let's pick Thursday then. Basically. いいですね. Okay, so, given that you guys have already made plans for the Thursday, what if now Amber tries to get in on the action and discuss Thursday,
Amber-san.
Friday, Saturday?
How do you say let's do it together? Like minna de ishoni or something? Or would that be redundant?
Yeah,
to say?
no, みんなで一緒にやりましょう. That would
Oh,
work.
okay.
But let's say she's busy on Thursday, perhaps, but is looking for whether or not you guys could do something together on Friday or Saturday. Okay? So
Oh.
if you two have the schedules that you're already working with, and she's got like all the first part of the week is taken up, including Thursday, but she's got Friday and Saturday free, just, you know,
So
hypothetical.
we're gonna have to make this really technical then, because I'm available Friday, but Joe's not available Friday, and I have to karate on Ryobi.
Right, so it might be that
We'll just-
she ends up having to make a plan to do one thing with Joe on one day and something else with Sandlin on a different day.
Okay. Let's do it.
So, let's get creative.
Maybe she doesn't want to do it.
Oh, we haven't asked Amber's opinion yet. We're just assuming that you want to hang out with us.
来週の金曜日に一緒にHow do you say this again? I forgot.
To meet, 会います。Or you maybe you want to suggest an activity. Do you want to see a movie? Do you want to play video games? You know, think about what kind of activity that we haven't put in yet that you might want to suggest to go do with Joe and Sandra.
見ませんか
What? Oh, もう一度言ってください。
はい。
来週の金曜日に一緒に映画を見ませんか
How do you ask what kind of movie? どんな映画を見ます
どんな映画？
映画。What English language are we going? どんな映画を見ますか
はい。
Okay.
いいですよ。
どんな映画を見ますか
新しい映画です
新しい
新しい映画。
How do you ask like two different things? Like say, I want to say, is it scary or is it funny?
ああ、怖い映画ですか？面白い映画ですか？
Can I say it with like one sentence though? Or do we not know how to do that?
That's basically the way to say or is to do the ka.
Desu ka twice?
Yeah,
So is that one sentence?
sort of.
So, okay.
That's it. The only other way I can think of to do that is short form version, which would be like 怖いのか面白いのかどっちですか？
怖いのか、面白いのか、
どっち？
どっちです。
です
Well, どっち。
どっちが like which
いや、
one?
どちら
Would I still say です
ですか？いや、
ですかどっちですか
ど
どっち、or どちらですか
面白いです
ああ、そうか。金曜日、let's see. No, that's you. You have to say that.
来週の金曜日はちょっと都合が悪いんです。友達に
友達に
会わなきゃいけないんです。
会わなきゃいけない。言いにくいね。
I have something.
はい
Wait, you still?
金曜日は
I was gonna move this Saturday, but no, 土曜日ですか？
土曜
土曜日はですか？
土曜日はどうですか？
どうですか？
土曜日はどうですか？
Oh, 土曜来週の土曜日に wait 土曜日はちょっと都合が悪いんです。でもokay. Can I say like even though Joe is tsugo ga warui, we can go together, Amber?
Yeah.
How do I say that?
Okay, so 金曜日は暇ですから、アンバーさんと一緒に行きませんか？
But that doesn't. I also want to say like even. I want to say like specifically
Yeah.
even though Joe can't go,
Okay,
I
so
can
like,
still go with you.
for example, think how to put that together. ジョーさんは金曜日が都合が悪いんですけど、私は
ですけど。
私は暇です。
Do we know how to say? Oh, we do know how to say that. That was the one.
Yeah. はい。
I
で
never
す
used
け
that.
ど。
Kedo?
Yeah, that's like however. でしょ？
Yeah.
Didn't you write that?
I wrote that.
Tuesday too.
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
thinking
like-
about it because we were looking through it.
Oh no,
It's like-
dake. It was dake.
Oh,
You're
dake,
thinking
okay.
of kiddo. I saw that somewhere too.
Yeah, けど。
Let's see if it's in here too.
Yeah, but you can do ですけど. We've also had が, ですが. That's also however. So ジョーさんは金曜日が都合が悪いんですけど、私は暇ですよ。一緒に。
一緒に映画を見ましょう。はい。
はい。So, いいですか? So, you know, hopefully for the OPI, it'll be 2 and 2, right? So
It'll be a little
hopefully
easier to bounce back.
it'll be a little bit easier to do the dialogue because it'll be just 2 people. Okay, since Amber got shortchanged on that one, let's let her be one of the main people for either the doctor's office or the, hey, what's wrong dialogues. Which do you guys want to try first? どうしたんですか? Free form, sort of, or, you know, going to the doctor's office. Which do you guys want to try first? Does Amber have a preference?
Nope. I'm just gonna look at this.
Would you still use どうしたんですか if you look happy? Because it seems like, oh, what's wrong? It's like you're all
Yeah.
smiling and stuff. Is there like another?
It still works. That's not anything to do with class, I take it.
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, if you're looking at something that's gonna be distracting, maybe it's better if you just save it for after class, 'cause, you know, we have limited enough time as it is. Okay, okay, I'm so distracted right now.
Sorry.
If someone looks happy.
Okay, so happy, yeah, so どうしたんですか is not literally what's wrong, it's more like what happened.
Okay.
So what happened could be, you know, hey, you look so excited, what happened? Or you look so upset, what happened? You know, right? I mean, that's sort of neutral. どうしたんですか is sort of neutral.
Okay, so
You know,
instead of
tone of voice conveys a lot. You know, あ、嬉しそう、どうしたんですか You know, versus, あー、大変ですね、どうしたんですか You know, can you hear the difference?
yeah, and it even looks like in the dialogue, it's like you can just kind of preface it. It's like genki ga arimasen. Okay, it's like you don't look well, or it's like, oh, you look well.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
Yeah. So, yeah, 元気がありませんね。どうしたんですかあ、マヤさん。こんにちは。So, let's try C. Let's try the doctor's office real quick. So the patient is going to be telling about all the symptoms and telling all the problems problems they've got.
They ask
The
me?
doctor is going to be, and then asking, what should I do, maybe? And the doctor is going to be making note of all those problems and then giving advice on each point. For this, for 頭が痛いんです, you're going to be telling them what they should do about it, So, which do you want to try, doctor or patient?
Doctor?
Okay,
I'll try.
go for it. Okay, so.
半田先生
Okay, so Senlin, you want to be the patient? this
Sure.
time?
よろしくお願いします So what are we doing?
So,
Is she just asking me like what my symptoms are?
yeah, so you ask him what's wrong, and then he's gonna give you a whole long list of terrible symptoms. And then you're gonna give him some advice about all the things he should do to start feeling better. いい? どうぞ。
Alright. どうしたんですか?
Well, now that you ask, 喉が痛いんです。頭が痛いんです。お腹が痛いんです。手が痛いんです。cough. What was cough?
咳が出る。
咳が出るんです。出るんです。
いや、出るんです。咳が出ます。
風邪を is that fever? 風邪 or is that just cold? To have a
風
fever?
邪 is cold.
熱があるんです。
はい。
アレルギーがあるんです。はい。Wait, hold on. I got another one.
はい。
One more.
Oh boy.
One more. ゲリです。
It's really falling apart. 大変ですね。Okay.
あれ、
半田先生は。
半田先生どうしよう。
You've got your hands full now.
How do you say it's out of my hands?
何もできません。
助けてお願いします。助けてください。
I have to call medical school for this one.
So, starting with the sore throat, what kind of advice can you put together for that? Advice.
水を飲んだ方がいいです。
飲んだ。Yeah, it's going to be the top form of the verb. Short past. 飲んだ方がいいです。
半田先生、水についてアレルギーがあります。どうしよう。
アイスクリームを
あ
食べた方がいいです。
そうか。
いいですね。
いいね。
じゃあ頭も痛いんですからどうしよう。
Oh, I could have said Mo for all of those.
はい。
That would have been better.
寝た方がいいです。
はい、いいですね。
So far, sounds so good.
はい、じゃあお腹も痛いんですけどどうしましょうか。
ペプトビスモール薬
Kusuri is
Kusuri.
medicine. So.
Can you say like ペプトビスモール薬を
I would say,
飲まほうがいい
okay, I don't think you've studied this yet, but if you're giving the name of a specific medicine, という薬を飲んだ方がいいです。So you can, Pepto-Bismol という薬 is the,
Oh, to
the
say?
kusuri called Pepto-Bismol.
Okay.
The
my
medicine named
goodness.
X.
So would that work for
Toyu,
like
I've
drinks?
heard that so many times.
Yeah.
Oh my
Would that work
goodness.
for like other drinks, like if you're going for
Yeah.
like brand stuff?
Yeah, so yeah, any kind of brand name that you think the other person might not know what it is, you know, and especially if you're talking about like an American brand name of medicine or something, a Japanese doctor may or may not even know what that is because, you know, they've got different brands and different packaging and labeling for things. Even if they've got a medicine that has the same active ingredient, they may have a different name for it. So if you're asking about a medicine that you know the name of, blank to you kusuri would be like the medicine called this, and then you could ask about whether or not they even have that. I remember, you know, having a hard time sometimes finding equivalents to what I knew in Japan.
So,
And sometimes the dosaging and, you know, most medicines have other ingredients in them, fillers and whatever. Sometimes the composition was very different and I would get like side effects from it that I wouldn't have gotten from the American equivalent. So there were times when I actually like called my parents and said, ship me a box of such and such because I can't find the equivalent here and the one they keep giving me from this doctor's office is making me worse, you know. So like I remember asking my parents to send me Sudafed because the Asian equivalent Sudafed had more caffeine in it than the American version and it was making me hyper. And then after taking it for several days, I crashed.
Oh.
And it was like, you know, like really bad. All of a sudden, I was just totally dead tired, couldn't move, you know. You know, they just, different ingredients. You know, the other thing that is true of medicine in Japan is that the Eastern and Western medicine is a little bit more integrated and Eastern traditional stuff is more readily available. So if you go to a Western style doctor, you're gonna get prescribed Western style medicine. But it's a lot easier to find somebody who practices acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine in Japan than it is here. And the price is gonna be a lot more reasonable. So if you're open to that style medicine, you know, you might go home with something really nasty tasting to drink, but it might work better, you know. I remember some of the cold remedies from the Chinese medicine. They were like, oh my God, it's like drinking mud. But, you know, well, some people swear by it. So, so anyway, getting back to, so Pepto-Bismol to you kusuri.
can I say like, Joe-san to you hito?
はい。
Just hito right after that?
Yeah, Joe-san to you hito. Yeah, the person named Joe. So if you're describing him to somebody that you don't know if they know who Joe is or not, you know, yeah,
Joe-san to you hito.
you're telling somebody about, you know, I've got this classmate whose name is Joe, you know.
Would you say wa after that?
Depending on the
So,
structure,
okay,
I mean,
so-
blank to you, blank, that's like a noun phrase, so.
Joe-san to you hito wa
はい。
kami ga akai desu. Can I say that? Akai desu.
Yeah, 髪が赤いです。はい。
The one named Joe has red hair.
はい。
Cool.
ジョーさんという人は髪が赤くて背が高いです。
Oh, Tay. I remember that.
いや
Okay.
背が高い。はい。
I'll Tay for all day.
はい。はい。
Alright, so
はい
what do we, oh, my stomach hurts, that's what we're doing.
はい、そう頭がお腹が痛いんですからどうしましょうか
ペプトビズモルという薬。
ペプトビズモルと薬
という
という
薬
という薬
はい
薬ら方がいいです。
あー薬を飲んだ方がいいです
飲んだ方がいい。
Yeah, in Japanese idiom, you always 飲む your kusuri.
Isn't it in Japan they usually drink it anyways because it's like powdered medicine?
A lot of times they have powdered medicine which you can put in a cup of water and drink it that way, but actually a lot of Japanese people just put the powder directly in the mouth from the little packet and then swig a lot of water to get it washed down.
強い。
はい、気持ち悪いです。はい。はい。But it's,
Just drink it first.
yeah, well, I mean, if it's a pill format, then swallow it the way we swallow it, but it's just an idiom. We say take medicine, Chinese says eat medicine, and Japanese says drink medicine. They're just different idioms in different languages. Yeah. Yeah, in Chinese they actually say 吃药, which means to eat medicine. So, yeah, there's a famous, I think it's a short story collection that I read a long time ago called Eat a Bowl of Tea. And it was a bunch of Chinese American short stories. But yeah, they literally say eat medicine in Chinese. They use the same kanji for kusuri that Japanese uses, but they use the verb to eat instead of the verb to drink. So it's just one of those idiomatic expression things. You know, you're not literally eating it because in Chinese traditional medicine, usually you boil the roots and herbs and other disgusting stuff that you don't want to know what it is. And then you strain it. And the tea that you made from boiling all that stuff is what you actually have to drink.
There's actually, that is a way of cooking. They use that to like make medical cuisine. Yes.
Interesting.
I learned that on an anime.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, there are a lot of.
They'll steep all the, like the
Yeah.
herbs and stuff and use
Yeah,
that to
you
make
steep-
soup broth.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, a lot of Chinese medicine is based on that idea that you steep a whole bunch of herbs in boiling water. And yeah, I actually went to a Chinese medicine doctor for a while, and he used to have me take this amount of herbs, boil it with this amount of water. When it boils down to the point where the water level reaches this line on your stick, then it's done. Now let's take it out and strain it and drink the liquid. And you just throw away the boiled herbs because all the medicine has been boiled out of them at that point, so you can't reboil them and reuse them anymore. So you just dump that part out. It makes the whole house smell gross because there's all kinds of disgusting tasting stuff in there. So the more modern Chinese medicine doctors, some of them at least, give you capsules where the relevant parts of the herbs have been crushed and put into capsule form, or sometimes they roll them into little pills, but you have to take like 20 of those darn pills at a time to get the effect.
There's no winning.
Yeah. So, yeah, just keep the colds in there.
I'll get over it.
Yeah,
Sweat this one out.
yeah,
I thought I would do that, but no, it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
yeah. Well, yeah, then there are people who use other natural remedies, you know, lemon tea and cinnamon and, you know, a whole lot of honey and such. cinnamon, honey, and lemon are supposed to
That
all
sounds
help
nice,
you.
though.
Honey is the
And
nectar of the
what was
gods.
the other, ginger is supposed to help with certain things, and ginseng. Turmeric, that was the other one. A friend of mine got.
Turmeric. I put that in
Yeah.
almost everything I could.
Yeah. A friend of mine decided to not do antibiotics anymore, so she got over her sinus infection with turmeric, cinnamon, and lemon tea. Large doses.
Which will work. It's kind of cool because antibiotics kind of stop working after a while.
Yeah, and not really good for you after a while either. Anyway, so for the stomachache, we came up with a solution, so Pepto-Bismol to
There's an
薬を
easier
飲む
solution.
Right,
Don't eat sweet foods or something.
right.
Yeah, 'cause I remember in one of the exercises that had like a similar thing. It's like,
Yeah.
they ask you, it's like, oh, what have you been eating? It's like,
Yeah.
I already ate.
Oh,
And it
so
goes
it
down.
is now, so yeah, that's the other thing, if you wanted to do this exercise differently, you could ask him like, "Nani o tabemashita ka?" What did you eat? And when he tells you that he ate, 3 pounds of candy, then you tell him, "Ame o tabenai hou ga ii desu." Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody been overdoing the pre-Halloween festivities or something, then,
チョコが好きです。
So I think his hand was hurting.
Okay,
Oh, my
so
hand was
it's
hurting.
Oh.
手も痛いですね。So that might be a good time to ask, like, what did you do?
I hit Ryan in the eye.
何をしましたか? So what did you do?
Oh.
Beyond the corner.
Hold on. I know there's a what is it?
結構。
喧嘩する。私、ラインさんとwas it?
喧嘩する。
喧嘩し、wait,
しました。
死んだ。死
しました?
I was trying to end this. Can I end this?
Oh, したんです。
したんです。
はい。
うん。
喧嘩したんです。
ラインさんと喧嘩したんです。
そうです。
How do you say win?
一番。
私は一番です。
頑張って。
Your next patient is Ryan with his eye. Ryan さんは目は痛いんです。
How do you put on a band-aid or like a bandage?
Let me think. Oh gosh, what is the word for bandage? I can't think of it right now. But actually, the first thing I thought of was 氷をつけた方がいいです. You should put some ice on it.
Oh.
氷 is ice. 氷。
氷。
はい。
His operation.
氷
He's a cool person.
Everybody's involved in this one. 氷。
氷をつける。
I'm just gonna call you Iceman now.
つける is like to apply, to put on. 氷をつけた方がいいです。
ところ。
はい。
どこ。
Oh, like put something down?
Oh.
Place at any
It depends on the context.
this
Like, yeah. 置く。Like,
置く
yeah, 水の瓶をテーブルの上に置きました. I put it on the table. 置く。So, 氷をつけた方がいいです。Would be, telling you to put ice on it.
氷をつけた方がいいです。
いいですか? はい。そして咳も出てますね。
Is that one have a?
咳が出る means he's coughing.
Oh.
So,
you say lemon tea?
Lemon tea.
Lemon tea.
Lemon tea.
Yeah. That was,
Oh.
that was an easy one.
カタカナはレモンティ
Lemon tea.
ー。はい。
Cool.
Lemon tea or no.
飲んだ方がいい？
飲んだ方がいいです。
そうか。
じゃあそれから熱があるんですね。熱。
Aspirin. Aspirin.
と
という
という薬を飲んだの方がいい。
飲んだ方
飲んだ方がいいです。
飲んだ方がいいです。はい。No, it's a mouthful. 飲んだ方がいいです。はい。それからアレルギーは
アレルギー。
はい。
That's a weird word.
Yeah,
アレルギー。
はい。
アレルギー。
Yeah.
アレルギ
I always hated to have to use that one because it was so hard to say.
ネソネクス。
はい。ネゾネクスという薬。
薬を飲んだ方がいいです。
はい。
ー。はいい。
いですね。
ありがとう先生。
お大事に。はい。お大事に。はい。
ありがとう。
Forgot to check about health insurance.
Health insurance?
あ、保険。はい。
Oh no.
I just got it all free.
That's why I was so thankful.
What's receptionist or doctor?
Let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah, this 保険証を見せ
I
て
could
くだ
say
さい。
これは何の薬ですか？
あ
ネイソネクスは何の薬ですか？先生。
アレルギーの薬ですね。ネイソネクスは
アレルギ
何の薬ですか is it says what kind of medicine is it? So,
Oh, okay. I see. Allergy.
allergy.
Allergy. Oh, allergy.
Allergy. I know it's a weird one to say. Allergy no 薬です。どうですか? You guys feel like you have a better idea of how to do?
I feel a lot better now.
Yeah, especially with that too. It's the,
Yeah.
After all the medicine too.
Yeah. Who you? Yeah.
That makes it a lot easier to like answer instead of being like, oh, just drink more tea and more and more.
Specifically the kind of tea that you want.
Right.
You can go, chiku feed, that rest chicken place. chicken no restaurant という、食べ
No, it would be
食べ
Chick-fil-A とい
Chick-fil-A
うレストラン。
レストランを食べに行きます。
はい
Something like that. Cool. 行きました。
Chick-fil-A というレストランに食べに行きました。はい。Yeah, we went to eat at a restaurant called Chick-fil-A. It's very useful for when you think the other person's not going to know the name of the thing that you're talking about, but you want them to understand what that thing is. So, like, I don't know if Chick-fil-A has made it to Japan or not. So, you know, in some parts of Japan they may never have heard of it. So you can say Chick-fil-A to you, toriniku no restaurant. And that's a way of explaining, yeah, Chick-fil-A is is the name of a restaurant that serves chicken, basically.
I know they just opened up a Taco Bell over there.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they had pictures of like lines going around the block and stuff. I don't think I'd ever wait for food like that. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
There is Chick-fil-A in Japan,
Okay.
in Osaka specifically.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm not surprised it's in the big cities. Yeah, I'm sure that there are rural parts of Japan where they've never heard of it still. Yeah, when I was teaching English there, we were 3 hours from Nagoya, and that was the nearest place to get fast food at any time, pretty much. Anyway. Okay, so, do you guys wanna do some sort of ad lib ones where you ask somebody "Dosan desu ka?" and they can make up anything they want, and then you have to try to respond?
Sure, let's go. I'll answer.
You ready?
I'm ready.
セブンさん、どうしたんですか？
ビンピンです。I'm constipated.
そうです。
はい。
何を食べましたか？
はい。
たくさんアイスクリームを食べたい、食べたんです。
はい
食べたんです。
はい。
そう。アイスクリームを食べない方がいい。
はい、食べない方がいいですね。
ジョーさん、how do you say addiction?
That's a good question. I don't recall it
Let's see.
offhand.
See how quick I can do this. T-shirt.
Well, you could use our new structure and say,
Oh, I must
食べ
eat
なきゃいけないんで
Oh,
す。
食べなきゃいけないんです。
I have to eat it.
どうし
There
て？
you go.
中毒 is apparently
中毒です。
中毒。
あ
So
Is it
apparently it's
bad?
also poisoning and addiction.
ー中毒。Okay, yeah,
So-
中毒です。Okay, that's a
So-
very interesting compound.
Can I just,
中毒. The chu is
Not
in the
the-
midst of.
yeah.
So you're in the midst of poisoning yourself.
Oh, that's actually like
From ice cream.
kind of philosophical too. Like
Yeah.
poison, addiction is poison.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
Don't get addicted to things. It's poison. Addiction is poison. Ice cream. How would I say that? Ice cream ni or
Does it say anything about grammar on this? Let me see. 中毒 Addiction. 私はテレビ中毒です。I'm a TV addict. So it's more like addict.
okay.
Okay, so アイスクリーム中毒です。
アイスクリーム中毒です。
I'm an ice cream addict. That's funny.
That's tomorrow's word of the day.
Okay.
中
中毒。中毒。
Oh, dope.
Yeah. 中毒. Be careful not to confuse that with Chugoku,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
what-
China.
That's what I was hearing.
Could you be
the
a-
first time I heard it.
Yes.
Chugoku chudoku?
A China addict? I suppose it's possible. Anime Chudoku?
Otaku.
テレビゲーム中毒?
アイスクリーム。
I don't know how to respond to that.
アメ中毒?
ジョーさん、どうしよう。アイスクリーム中毒。
変ですね。
野菜
やめて
を
やめて
食べた方がいいですよ。
おそうです。How do I say? How did that guy say his eye that must change in that anime?
Oh, I don't know.
There's an anime we were watching, and at the end, the guy just like his entire world was shattered. He said, "I guess it is I who must change." That's what I should say right now, but I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Alright, let's move on.
Tell them
Yeah.
to eat you can tell them to eat a brand of ice cream. A different
Specific
brand.
Oh.
By using that, like
Budaya is
the
all.
brand, the ice
Budaya
cream
to
called.
you.
Brian's told you ice cream or tabe ta hoge?
Hi.
Tabe ta hoge.
Yeah.
Hi.
So So, yeah, maybe there's one that you think is healthier than the others or something.
Oh, there's like, I'm pretty sure there's Smart Choice ice cream.
Oh.
I don't think it tastes good though.
Oh, okay.
Like ice cream, it's just cold.
Yeah.
Cold
Well,
health, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Cold medicine.
There are some types that will give you the opposite of venti. Turn it into Getty instead.
Can't win.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
What did you talk about in Japanese today?
Ice cream.
Diarrhea.
Oh, God. Funny. I always liked the word kusani. I thought that was a fun one.
Kusani?
Kusani ga deru.
What is that?
Kusani. Achoo.
Oh, I
Kusani
see.
ga
Oh.
deru.
Oh.
So would you just like say that after it
Kushami.
happened? It's like I sneezed and everybody like, yeah,
Yeah.
I got it.
Kushami da. Oh, kushami ga deru.
demasu is to sneeze, yeah.
Kushami ga demasu.
What do people in Japanese say in response to that? Nothing?
There's not
Shogunai.
really an equivalent to bless you for sneezes. Yeah, that's a European,
Okay, so it's not Asian.
concept. That saying bless you after someone sneezes came from a medieval European superstition that your soul kind of left your body for a second when you sneezed, and if you didn't say God bless you to the person, then the devil might be able to possess them because their soul had left their body for a second.
Is that where the term?
It's just like,
That's where God
I'm gonna
bless you
blow your
comes
mind
from.
real quick. Is that where the term dust devil comes from?
I don't know.
It does make sense.
Never thought of that, but, oh gosh. But no, seriously, that convention, because that's a European origin custom, it kind of transferred itself to countries that were heavily influenced by European Christian traditions, but it never made it to Japan. It never really influenced Japan that strongly. So I've heard of some Japanese families that may use some kind of a phrase to acknowledge it. Sometimes I think it's more either Japanese families who've lived in this country for a while, so they figured out an equivalent, or in some cases maybe some of the Christian families have sort of taken it on, but it's not something that most Japanese people use. Most of the time you sneeze in Japan and people just look to see if you're okay or not. Okay, he didn't fall out of his chair. They just look, and then they go back to whatever they were doing. But they don't usually say anything, so it's kind of awkward. Yeah, they just stare at you for a second. Judo meter.
So you sneeze really loud, they say like daijoubu or something?
They might ask,
Achoo!
"Daijoubu desu ka?"
I know a couple
Yeah.
guys who like scream when they sneeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother.
And, yeah, and sometimes if you feel like your sneeze probably disturbed everybody because it was so loud or something, you can say sumimasen or shitsurei shimasu is, I'm sorry for being rude, basically.
That's what you say when you go into somebody's house, right?
Yeah, shitsurei shimasu, sometimes, yeah, you use that like as you're entering, or ojama shimasu.
Ojamashima.
Yeah, ojama shimasu is more common when you're visiting a friend's house. Shitsurei shimasu is more common when you're like
You open the door yourself.
or like when you're entering like the teacher's workroom and you're a student, or if you're entering your boss's office to go ask him a question or something like that.
Okay.
So shitsurei shimasu is usually more like lower status person entering higher status person's workspace kind of thing. And ojama shimasu is more like you're hanging out at your friend's house and their mom comes home. So you say, ojama shitemasu,
Oh.
I'm troubling you by being here, Yeah, or like, you go over to your friend's house and you're just planning to drop off the notes they asked to borrow or something, but they invite you in, so you say ojama shimasu as you take your shoes off and step up into the house. And then, you know, if you encounter their older brother or their dad or whoever else in the house, you say, "Ojama shitemasu," when you see other family members of theirs, because, you know, it's kind of a big deal in Japan to go visiting someone's home, because homes are so cramped that you don't necessarily have gatherings of friends in your personal home all that often. 1 or 2 friends at a time maybe, but not larger groups than that usually, because there's not that much space for it. I mean, I've known people who fit a family of 4 into an apartment that would fit inside this classroom with room to spare. Yeah, cramped space, but, you know, don't forget, a lot of Japanese traditional style construction was built with multi-purpose rooms. So like the kitchen area is dedicated kitchen space because you have to have, you know, stove and running water and all that. The bath area and the facilities are dedicated space because you really can't make that anything other than what it is. But it could literally be just the facilities, the kitchen, and one main room that is the gathering room in daytime, where everybody sits around a table on the floor on little cushions and eats their meals and talks and watches TV. And then at night, that one table in the middle of the room gets put up against the wall, and the bedding comes out, and the whole family shares that one room as a bedroom at night. That's literally possible in traditional style Japanese home construction. So you could literally take a room this size and, you know, the equivalent of maybe 4 of those tables is the kitchen, and this space up here is that multi-purpose room with just barely enough room for 3 or 4 people to sit around and watch TV and eat meals. And then you've got a skinny little hallway leading down the hall to the bathroom, and literally the whole house cuts off here. Yeah, I've been in homes that were that tight.
How much have they adapted to Western style houses?
Depends on how much money they've got. Somebody who's poor or wants to live in downtown Tokyo where housing is so expensive, they might have a teeny little place like that. If, on the other hand, you live out in the countryside somewhere where you can afford to have a 2-story house with a grand total of, you know, over 1,000 square feet, maybe some of your rooms are Western style because you've got the space to let it be Western style. You know, so like my host family that I lived with in the countryside, they had a 2-story house, fairly small footprint still, but the downstairs had a Western style kitchen, a Western style family room, the bathroom, and one traditional tatami mat style room where they could entertain more formal guests or use it as sleeping space when the grandkids came to visit and stuff like that. And then upstairs, there were 2 more bedrooms and a half bath. And so they just had the one main tatami mat room and then a couple of Western style bedrooms. But it depends on the family. But it was still, you know, that house was considered big by Japanese standards. It was a fairly good sized house for Japan. It was probably around 12 or 1,400 square feet. It's not huge by American standards at all, but that was like a big country house in Japan for a middle income family. You know, I had other friends that were wealthier who had much bigger houses than that. But for a middle income family like they were, that was as big as they were going to be able to afford. Yeah, Yeah, I doubt it was more than 1,400 square feet. And it had, you know, it was on the same plot of land that their older house used to be on. So they just raised the old house, put a new house in its place, because they didn't have the money to buy a larger plot of land or anything like that. But they still had, they had room for a little garden and a teeny little carport with a teeny little car in it. You know, think smart car size. And a place to hang laundry, because their itty bitty little washing machine did not have a dryer to go with it. They had enough, their washing machine was so small that they could wash like maybe 2 days worth of clothes for the 3 of us at a time. You know, literally like, you know, maybe 6 shirts, 6 pairs of pants, and some socks and undies, and you're done, it's full. Anyway,
What if they have IKEA over there, the little safe space and stuff?
yeah. Oh, there are some incredible space-saving ideas in Japan, yeah. Well, and, I mean, the whole traditional way of doing things was space-saving ideas. You know, the idea that you put the bedding out on the floor at night, everybody sleeps, and then in the morning, you either fold it up and put it in the closet, or hang it out to air out on the porch and then put it in the closet. But it doesn't take up space all day long. There's no bed. You know, what Americans call a futon, that's not Japanese. There's no frame in Japan. You know, a Japanese futon is, first of all, only about 8 thick. And it's made with sort of natural creases at the thirds spots, so that it's easy to fold into thirds and put away.
So we call a yoga mat, they call like a.
Yeah, it's closer to like a yoga mat in thickness. It's a little bit cushier, it's a little bit softer than that, but it's, the thickness is literally only like that much. The softness is almost like a really firm pillow, like a Tempur-Pedic pillow or something. It's about that consistency of foam. And then it's got like a sheet that fits over it and a quilt for on top of it. And as long as you're not much taller than 5'7", it fits you. If you're taller than that, your toes are gonna get cold.
I'll just buy 2.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle.
Yeah. But that, even the dimensions of the closets in Japan are, the closets for storing the futons are made deep on purpose, because that's what you're gonna store in there. So, you know, in the morning, you open up that closet, you fold your futon, you put it on the shelf the way it belongs. If there's several kids in the family, you fold up all of their futons and put them on their respective shelves. There might be multiple shelves so that the pieces can be separated. And there may or may not be room in there to also store the little velveton, the seating cushions that you sit on in the daytime. So it may be that you open that up, you move the seating cushions out, put the sleeping mats back in, and then you put the seating cushions around on the floor. You get your little table on legs yay tall out and put it in the middle, and that's your dining table, your game table if you're gonna play games with the kids, you know, card games or board games or whatever. It's also your arts and crafts table, and it's also your homework table. You know, it's your everything for the whole day table until it's time to put it away again and get out the bedding. Lots of families still do it that way if that's all the space they can afford. You know, and it's a big deal if you can afford more space than that. especially if you live in the city.
It's doable and
Yeah, it really does work, and, you know, there are a lot of families that, you know, they put their spending money into having compact, space-efficient, high-tech gadgets and such, because they can't afford a bigger house, but they can afford to have a totally tricked-out sound system with all the best speakers and MP3 player and, you know, Blu-ray and everything else, because, you know, those are smaller purchases. So, you know, I knew a family that had an old house. They couldn't afford to redo the house. So they were living with an indoor outhouse and having to build a fire to have hot water, and having sort of a makeshift system of piping to bring water in from the well to the kitchen and the bathroom. But they had a Mercedes-Benz in the driveway and the highest tech sound and video gear of the time, because that's what they could afford to put their money into. They were making good money in their family business, but to redo their house would have required that they move out of that house and live someplace else for at least a year to get that house rebuilt. And it would have meant, you know, getting rid of what was probably over 100-year-old house that had some history to it in order to replace it with something more modern. So they put up with no central heat, you know, no running water except the makeshift piping system, you know, firewood in an outdoor, you know, oven to heat water for bathing, you know. They had an electric space heater under a kotatsu for not freezing when you're sitting there, you know, but that was,
Sensei,
hi.
in regards to the first year class, there's a student, Ken Boyle, who's
Uh-huh.
not going to be able to make it to your class. You want me to tell you for him?
Okay, thanks.
We have to have that.
Okay, you guys gotta go. Do you guys feel like we practiced enough? Do you feel like you know?
Oh, I'm good.
Good.
Eat this.
You guys, yeah.
Maybe not.
Okay.
I'm just gonna sit for the rest of the week and just eat a nine on this, so I get it down.
Yeah, hinake ikenai, hinake ikenai, hinake ikenai.
If it's one thing I'll get right, it'll be that.
Yeah, yeah, and just, you know, practice conjugating it with a variety of verbs.
Yeah.
Habanake ikenai, you know, ikanake ikenai, you know, nomanake ikenai.
Let's go up and down the vocabulary. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
hitting.
Yeah. And I know it's kind of a mouthful until you get used to it, but once you get used to it, it's just one of those useful phrases. You must do this, you know, nomanake ikenai, you know.
I know there's a hello talk chat we had between us and the Japanese students. I used it like, because there was a meteor shower yesterday. I'm like, don't forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing happened. It was like one meteor.
Aw.
So it's like
Too
two.
many city lights here.
Yeah.
It's hard to get to a place anywhere in the US anymore that
Yeah.
has few enough lights that you can really see that stuff. There were probably a bunch of them if you were like out in the middle of nowhere somewhere.
Yeah.
But